Well, let's talk a little bit about carbon emissions, carbon footprint. What's the impact of choosing sustainable materials when it comes to carbon emissions and reduction, resource conservation? I mean, what does that look like?
It's low impact, high impact from a perspective of the carbon. Let's talk about just carbon credits. So if you build green, your whole project probably going to get you lots and lots of carbon credits, which means that there's a lot of money that can be given back to you for a project that is green versus one that's non-green or not so green. And so from a perspective of, using those type of materials, your impact overall is less because think of you're now finding new uses for something that already had a use. That's the biggest thing. But more importantly, because most aspects of green construction is almost custom, you have less waste. And so what I mean by that is like, for instance, a shipping container, you know how large the windows have to be, you know how large the doors have to be. So what happens to the excess metal? One thing that we're working on is actually dealing directly with our China manufacturers where we're getting container kits, which means that it's a deconstructed shipping container. And so when those kits are shipped to us, we're only going to use the components of the container that we actually need to use for that build versus buying one that is from the port that we have to do a lot of cutting out and then we have all this excess metal that's just sitting around. So
Mhm.
what I've seen people use with the waste from shipping containers is they turned it into art. Otherwise,
Oh,
there
cool.
is not much you can do with a cutout from a door or a window. And so we're trying to even go as far as reducing waste that way because if we're dealing directly with the manufacturer with the material that they're making the shipping containers out of, then our bills start from the very beginning with reducing waste because we know what components of that container we actually need. We know how much of it we actually need, and we're only going to use what we actually need. So if you take into consideration when you're building reducing waste, I think that's
Mhm.
a great first way for people to start in how they are reducing their impact on the carbon emissions, Mother Earth, and everything in between.